Our parents always say that wealth is the product of our own efforts, but there's a small percentage of families who take this to another level. These families created empires which offer services to humanity from the simplest to the most complex. A curious fact is that while for decades American families have fought to be among the top wealthiest ones, there's plenty of variety among the origins of the richest families on the planet. Though many have business in the US, with the biggest market share in retailing, luxury fashion goods, or even diversified conglomerates, there are several sorts of endeavors who change the life of selected people and their offspring, making them like few people around the globe. This list doesn't include just one person who made fortunes like in the cases of Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk. Rather, these are the world's richest families. And before we start, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button to get the best luxury content on the web. Number 10. Beringer and von Bombach Family. In 1885 in Germany, Alben Beringer founded Beringer Ingelheim as a biochemical factory which started fabricating tartaric acid, which can be used in the food industry in form of baking powder or carbonated beverages. 136 years later, the company is a leader among complex human pharmaceuticals, animal health, and biopharmaceuticals. With a workforce of almost 48,000 employees globally and with the revenues of 22.7 billion by year, Beringer Ingelheim stands tall for a family-owned business. Medicines historically tied to Beringer Ingelheim, like Buscopan, Bisalbon, or Pharmaton, made the company earn millions and help it to gain a name and a status among worldwide pharmaceutical industry. The Beringer and von Bombach families solidified their business ties when Erich von Bombach, son-in-law of Herr Albert Beringer Jr., was appointed chair of Shareholders Committee. Now, the carrier of the proud 4 generations is Hubertus von Bombach, current CEO of Beringer Ingelheim. Bloomberg estimates the family's wealth in 59.2 billion, with this being the wealthiest family in Germany. Number 9. Thompson Family. In 1931, in Ontario, Canada, Roy Thompson set the foundation stone of his future empire, when with only $200, he bought his first media asset, CFCH-FM. Then, in 1934, he discovered the pillars of his business, newspapers, as he purchased the Timmins Daily Press for also $200. By early 1950s, he owned 19 newspapers and launched the first commercial television station in Scotland. And years later, Thompson's empire included the Sunday Times and the Times. By 1970, Roy's son kept the business running and added the Globe and Mail and the Jerusalem Post to the family's properties. But in mid-90s, the Thompson family began to sell their newspapers and started to diversify, investing in business information and contributing to decisions regarding financial, legal, research, and medical organizations. In 2008, the Thompson family purchased Reuters Group, a media and financial information company, and the Thompson empire became what we know as the Thomson Reuters. Nowadays, everyone knows Reuters as a trustworthy source of news and information. Ken's son and Roy's grandson, David, now controls the Thompson empire, valued in $61.1 billion, built through 3 generations, the greatest fortune in Canada. Number 8. Johnson Family. After World War II in 1946, Edward Johnson II, a financial broker from New England, decided to found Fidelity Management and Research, a wealth management company. Through the decades, Fidelity formed divisions which later split out as it gained investors, included an international division. In 1977, Edward's son Ned became the CEO of Fidelity, and the firm gained popularity for its innovations like discount brokerage service to prime clients like banks and insurance companies. Ned retired in 2016, and his daughter and Edward's granddaughter, Abigail, inherited Fidelity's executive functions. And in 2018, she started to look at cryptocurrency investments. The firm, now known as Fidelity Investments, offers products like mutual funds, investment advice, retirement services, and life insurance, among others, along with its outstanding wealth management service. Abigail was named as one of the 10 top most powerful women in the world according to Forbes, and she is in charge of the Johnson's three-generation fortune estimated in $61.2 billion. Number 7. Wertheimer Family. Artists never get success without the support from wealthy buyers or investors, and that's what happened with Coco Chanel and Pierre Wertheimer during the Roaring '20s. Pierre helped to spank the market for the famous Chanel No. 5 perfume. However, that business relation in particular didn't end well. As the Wertheimer family had to leave France during Nazi occupation and Coco Chanel got closer to the Nazis, after World War II, Pierre Wertheimer got advantage of Chanel's alleged collaboration with the Nazis and formalized the Chanel holdings under his property. In 1947, Wertheimer and Chanel reached a settlement for the royalties and use of the name Chanel, and in 1954 they both re-established their business relation. Pierre's son, Jacques, took control of the holding in 1965 after Pierre died. Coco died 6 years later. Jacques didn't last long controlling of the company, as he was claimed he was more interested in horse breeding. So his son and Pierre's grandson, Alain, took control of Chanel in 1974. His labor has been successful as he revamped the sales of Chanel No. 5 in the US and made the brand global. Through 3 generations, the Wertheimer family amassed a fortune of $61.8 billion. Number 6. Ambani Family. Indian businessman Dhirubhai Ambani spent years in Yemen before betting in the textile business when he came back to his native India in the 1960s. With polyester as his primary business, Ambani formalized what is known today as Reliance Industries in 1985, and the company did so well that in 1991 it entered the petroleum business, and with this it began the diversification of Reliance, doing an incursion in the telecommunications business in 1995. Also, Dhirubhai died in 2002, creating tensions between his 2 sons, Anil and Mukesh, which her widow and mother of the children had to settle. Mukesh ended with the control of the current version of Reliance Industries, having participation in energy, petrochemicals, telecommunications, textiles, among others, and having as its property the biggest oil refining plant in the world. Anil started up several big companies from those which split up from Reliance. Reliance Industries is now trying to switch from energy and petrochemicals to tech. Between all the ventures controlled for the 2 brothers, and which have implications for 3 generations, the Ambani fortune is valued at $93.7 billion, with Mukesh in particular ranking consistently as the richest man outside North America and Europe. Number 5. AlSaud Family. The AlSaud family is the royal family of Saudi Arabia, giving the country its name, and dates its origins back to the 16th century. Historically well respected, however, the family's power in modern days comes from the days when oil companies started to exploit Saudi Arabia's big reserves, and the profits from the oil industry started to come in big numbers. King Abdulaziz granted a concession to an American oil company in 1933. He then used the economic power to impose his authority in the region and to get close to the United States. After Abdulaziz died, there were several disputes in the ruling of the kingdom, but in 1975, King Fahd inherited the crown and ruled Saudi Arabia strongly. Fad invested the oil profits in real estate and equity funds, and at some point several blue chips companies were held by Saudi investments. During Fad's rule, while he managed several palaces and luxury residences, while a few years have gone by since Fad death in 2005, nowadays Saudi Arabia is ruled by Mohammed bin Salman, who launched Saudi Vision 2030 and plans to diversify the economy of the kingdom from petroleum industry. Being Saudi Aramco, Saudi's flagship company, and passing through 3 generations, AlSaud Family's fortune is valued $100 billion. Number 4. Hermes Family. Thierry Hermes, established in 1837 as a harness workshop dedicated to noblemen in France, Thierry's grandson Émile Maurice got the patent of zipper in leather goods in 1914. Émile Maurice added accessories to collection in the 1920s, beginning with the signature goods for the company, and in 1930s, Hermes began the production of the famous Kelly bag and the Hermes Caris. Émile Maurice's son-in-law, Robert Dumas, inherited the firm in 1951 and introduced jewelry to collections. Robert's son, Jean-Pierre, became the leader of the firm in 1978 and focused on ready-to-wear items and worked with designers like Martin Margiela and Jean-Paul Gaultier. And since 2014, Axel Dumas, member of the 6th generation of business people, is in charge of Hermes. And the company is widely recognized as one of the favorite brands for fashion among wealthy people. Hermes' fortune is valued in $116.1 billion, being the richest family in France and the European Union. Number 3. Koch Industries. American chemical engineer Fred Koch, learning from experience, first working for the Soviet Union in the 1920s and then for the Nazi Germany in the 1930s. Then he split out for any controversy and with a good amount of money in his patrimony. So Fred and some partners created the Wood River Oil and Refining Company. In 1968, Wood River became Koch Industries. Then, in charge of Fred's son Charles after Fred's death, and soon later, he made society with businessman Jane Howard Marshall to diversify Koch interests outside petroleum. Through the years, Fred's 4 sons disputed their own participation in Koch Industries, which was settled in 2001. Until 2019, Charles and his brother David controlled the Koch Industries, which has a participation in chemicals, energy, minerals, pulp and paper, technology and finance, and more. After David's death, a 3rd generation now has participation in family business. The Koch family has also been involved in politics, financially operating several right-wing libertarian and conservative campaigns. Among the most powerful families in the United States and the world, the Koch amassed a fortune of $124.4 billion. Number 2. Mars Family. Frank Mars started in Tacoma, Washington as the Mars Candy Factory in 1911, but the venture failed in its beginning. Then, he and his wife moved to Minneapolis in 1920, and he started the production of candy bars. Then, in 1923, the factory began making the Milky Way bar, and for the 1930s, the Snickers bar. Frank's son, Forrest, helped the Mars brand expand abroad and made an incursion into pet care. He also developed the M&M Gram, and finally, in 1964, Forrest took control of the company. The Mars family moved to the company's facilities in 1984 to McLean, Virginia, where they are currently located. Now, under control of John's Forrest's son and Frank's grandson, the company is focused on textiles and pet care in almost a century of history, but is also stepping in other ventures. The family has now a low profile, and few members have even been photographed in public or interviewed through the years. But everybody knows Mars candy bars, chocolate buttons, chewing gums, and dogs and cats food. 5 generations have amassed what at one point was the biggest fortune for a private held company, where now is valued at $141.9 billion. We finally come to number 1. Can you guess which is the wealthiest family in the world? While you think about it, make sure you hit the like and subscribe button to get the best luxury content on the web. Number 1. Walton Family. In 1945, Sam Walton purchased a variety store in Newton, Arkansas, and set the prospect of what he wanted as a business: selling products at low prices to get a high amount of sales. 5 years later, Sam moved the store to Bentonville, Arkansas, where the family business was established for a long term, and called it Five and Dime, a concept which kept expanding through the years. But the actual idea of Walmart didn't develop until 1962, after Sam and his brother Bud showed interest in shopping centers, focusing in low-cost, made-in-America providers to show to the public, and in small towns rather than larger cities. By the 1980s, Walmart reached almost 1,200 stores and almost $16 billion in sales, which made Sam Walton the richest person in the world. In the 90s, Walmart kept expanding throughout North America and then internationally, and in the 2000s became the largest corporation in the world by revenue. Since Sam's death in 1992, their 4 children, Rob, John, until his death, Jim, and Alice, distributed between them the management of the business. Today, Walmart and its subsidiaries around the world offer both in place and online a great number of items like food, personal care goods, clothing, consumer electronics, and furniture, among others, making the giant a leader in retailing for excellence. 3 generations made the Walton fortune, valued now at $238.2 billion. Thus, its heirs ranking constantly among the 20th richest people in the world. These are the biggest families which created the biggest fortunes around the world, a product of innumerable strategies, successes, failures, disputes, and reinventions. But if anything they have in common is that their hard work and dream life came true. See you around.